Speaking of, this is the other piece of politicians protecting billionaires and the wealthy from paying taxes. One of the primary movers and shakers in fighting to cut taxes for the wealthy has been Congressman Josh Gottheimer. Notably, very, very much in favor of, aggressively advocating for reinstating that SALT tax cap. Of course, you guys know the statistics that would overwhelmingly benefit the top 1% of income earners. Those are the types of people that are very influential in sort of like local congressional districts, the type of people who might be kicking in campaign cash, might be holding local fundraisers for you, et cetera. So Congressman Gottheimer actually went on CNBC to continue to push aggressively to get that SALT tax cap back reinstated. And he actually got a tiny bit of pushback from this anchor. Let's take a listen to what happened.
In terms of those leaving the state versus coming. So you start looking at numbers like that, and then look at the census numbers and the growth compared to other states over that same period of time, and you realize that New Jersey and New York and places like that are not gaining people. We're losing people net to other states, especially at the top end. We're losing a lot of people and businesses and jobs. So this is really about our economy. It's about making sure we make things more affordable for families so they can stay here when they retire. And the bottom line is, I believe we're going to fight for and get the full reinstatement of the SALT deduction when all things are said and done, if we go forward with this package on reconciliation.
So what was notable about that is, first, she did actually push him on a couple of questions. But then while he's talking there, for those of you guys who are listening, they actually throw up a graphic that accurately portrays who the SALT tax cap would benefit.
Yeah.
So while he's out there like making the case that, oh, this is going to be great for everyone. This is a middle class tax cut. This would be good for, bolstering the middle class in the state of New Jersey. Even CNBC is kind of like passive aggressively calling bullshit on his talking points there by putting up a graphic on the screen that shows, no, actually overwhelmingly, this is going to benefit the top 1% of income earners.
Oh yeah, I could put the graph up a million times. We already have. In terms of the people who this benefits, is people who make over $1 million. I mean, you can, and I always get contacted by like some guy who makes like 300 grand or something and lives in New Jersey. He's like, do you have any idea how expensive it is to live in northern New Jersey? And sir,
you're gonna be okay.
I do generally feel for you. I do also think that the extra $20,000 or whatever there, combined with the policy, which is going to benefit multimillionaires to the tune of millions of dollars in their taxes, well, I'm sorry. And maybe if you want to change the tax code to benefit you, I'd be for that. But this is the thing, which is this is overwhelmingly a gift to the top 1% of New York and California. Call it for what it is. And it just so happens the Speaker of the House of the Democratic Party is from San Francisco, which is one of the overwhelming places where the SALT tax deduction is overwhelmingly beneficial. And the Majority Leader is from New York State, which is another place where the SALT tax is hugely beneficial. I just wonder why this happens to be in our debate. But Krystal, you flagged this too, around who exactly has done a little bit of an about face on this. And it's kind of nuts. So
gives me no pleasure to report on this one.
So Bernie Sanders had actually talked about this before in a previous interview. Let's take a listen to what he said explicitly about the SALT tax.
Restoring this state and local tax deduction, the SALT, which is a tax break for rich people in blue states.
Yep.
You don't support that?
No.
What do you think if Democrats bring that back?
It sends a terrible, terrible message. So ultimately, what you have got to do, and fairness to Schumer and Pelosi, it is hard when you have tiny margins, but you have got to make it clear which side you are on.
And Krystal, so what is in his new budget? Let's put this up there on the screen. It's Bernie himself who's actually included the SALT tax there.
Yeah.
Salt in the wound, as Ryan Gray.
SALT deduction relief included in Bernie Sanders' budget proposal after him saying accurately that it sends a terrible, terrible message about which side the Democratic Party is on. And look, this isn't a done deal yet, but there's also a story here about like Gottheimer and the other SALT tax caucus
They drew
members.
a red line on this.
They were, no salt, no dice. I think that's what Gottheimer or one of his acolytes said about this tax. And progressives initially drew a pretty firm line and were clearly opposed to this. And it seemed like it was going to be, you know, an area of some tension and friction, and that we're going to have some kind of a public debate about whether this ultimately gets included. But, you know, it appears that they are beginning to cave on this. And so, again, it's just this asymmetry of the right-wing Democrats willing to go so hard, and when they do go so hard, they win. And the progressives, you know, they may say they need this or that, or we need climate change this, or we definitely need the reconciliation bill to be tied together with the infrastructure package is a perfect recent example. And then when Biden gets pushed on that, when he initially takes the correct position from the progressive point of view of these things got to be tied together, he instantly caves to not just the right-wing Democrats, but instantly caves to the Republicans on those things. So all of this idea of like, oh, progressives, we promise you, you've got so much influence in this administration. Just look at all these. Look, we patted you on the head with a nice little tweet. Ron Klain sent out a nice tweet about you. Don't you feel influential? Don't you feel powerful? Ultimately, when it comes down to it, it seems like there are very few wins here. And that's before even talking about like minimum wage hike, gone, nowhere to be found. Public option, gone, nowhere to be found. Now they're trying to act like if they manage to get the Medicare age lowered by 5 years, that's some gigantic win. And would it be an improvement? Yeah, it's an improvement. But let's not pretend when, you know, Medicare for all was what everybody was talking about just a year prior, that this is anything approaching what is required in the moment or what Americans need and what the left has stood for. So just one more.
It's a good illustration of power.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut. Our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions. All that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.